been such a bonding experience for Brian and I. It's crazy. We really came together for this. I want to thank you for that. Just so you know that what we're going to do is dessert tonight is waffles and ice cream. One of John's favorite desserts. I don't know why we picked it. But we're going to start that. Actually, we're going to give John his rebuttal. And then we're going to have dessert.
Yay!
But first, I have a few words to say myself. No, they're not. You wish they were. Okay. So, when Amanda actually first reached out to me about doing this roast for John and helping her put it together, who, by the way, was a huge help. She's a silent partner, but a very strong competitor. Helped out a lot. Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Collaborator.
Good one.
Thank you. You know, I was going to come out here and bring up a bunch of things about myself that the other roasters could use against me in order to strategically take away their insults from me. And I should have done that at the beginning. But when I was thinking this, I sat down one afternoon, and I started writing. And sometime between 3 and 4 a.m. on the third day, I remembered we only have the room till 11. So I decided to go a different route. I decided to be aggressively offensive. Like John's face. I mean, just look at it. It's the face only a mother could love. And she hates it. What happened? Did your face catch on fire and someone tried to put it out with a hammer? I mean, no, you're right, I'm sorry. Actually, Mom and Dad tried to get the situation taken care of when you were a kid. Unfortunately, they were on a budget, and the mom's asking price was way too high. But I guess everything happens for a reason. You were meant to live. Perhaps your whole purpose in life was to be an example or a warning to others. I mean, think about it. As horrible as you were as a child, we can agree you were pretty horrible. You've changed over the years. You used to be extremely arrogant and obnoxious. Now you're the opposite. You're extremely obnoxious and arrogant. So things change. I mean, you certainly don't suffer from anxiety, mainly because you're a carrier. But I really shouldn't be so hard on your appearance, though. I mean, Mom and Dad should have known 2 wrongs don't make a right. I think I just insulted myself on that one, too. Let's move on. You gotta be comfortable with how you look. You should own it. After all, mirrors don't lie for any of us. And lucky for you, they don't laugh either. The bright side would be someday you lose your hair, you lose your teeth, you lose your money, you might even lose your mind, but you'll never lose your good looks. Because you can't lose what you don't have. Really, though, you should try to stay positive. Maybe think about avoiding mirrors from now on. At 40 years old, you've reached the age where looking in the mirror is like following Donald Trump on Twitter. It gets worse every day, and it makes most of the world's population want to throw up. But don't worry, as your brother, I have faith in you. I have your back. You've always been determined to succeed. I remember one time our doctor growing up, Dr. Gorby, wanted to give you a urine test. You studied for 3 weeks. That's effort. There are some things you can be proud of. So let's focus on some of those things. We all should, really. I mean, John shares traits with a lot of famous historical figures that have influenced our world. He's got Van Gogh's ear for music.
Impressed you guys know who that is?
Julius and Ethel Rosenberg's sense of loyalty. Marie Curie's commitment to a safe work environment. You guys can vouch for that back there. Amelia Earhart's sense of direction. Clint Eastwood's vocal range, FDR's soccer skills. Is that too soon? It could be said that John brings to mankind an influential contribution comparable to the likes of Robert Oppenheimer and H.H. Holmes. Look at Google. Here's an example. I'm really not kidding about that. As a matter of fact, when we were kids, my parents used to go out all the time furniture shopping. Seriously, they'd leave us home alone. Never came back with any furniture, by the way. And they'd always give us a little job to do while they were gone. Usually it was cleaning the basement. I can only assume they gave us these jobs because they were too lazy to do them themselves. I've never actually asked when we talk. But again, the most common job was to left to, clean the basement of our toys and our what have you. And I'm sure John's colleagues can attest to the fact that when John is in charge, as he usually was as the oldest, it's a super fun, happy time. So, thank you. At 12 or 13 years old, here's the method John came up with to efficiently complete the cleaning of the basement before Mom and Dad got back from furniture shopping. Brian and myself were responsible for picking up and putting away the toys, clothing, or trash that was left at a place. John provided our motivation. I'm sure you guys can relate to this. He put on an old pair of sunglasses and find the closest thing resembling a cane, usually a broomstick. And he'd assume usually a broomstick, and assume the closest thing. I'm sorry, I repeated that. He'd assume the role of a blind man, wandering aimlessly around our basement, clicking his cane as he went in front of him. And every time John's cane hit something that wasn't put away or was out of place, he would yell, "I see red." And immediately come after Brian and I with the stick, smacking knees, ankles, everywhere it hurts in the head, until that thing was put away where it was supposed to be, and then it would be back to the aimlessly wandering.
It worked.
It did work. This would continue on for hours. Hours. John called this game. Remember what it was called? This game was called Ray Charles in Charge. So that's just an illustration to my childhood, growing up with him as an older brother. There's really nothing else I have to say. That's the kind of like a mic drop walk up the stairs. So, without further ado, I'm going to introduce John. I believe we had a song, a new song, or was it? Yeah, that's the right one. Ladies and gentlemen, the man of the hour, the very, 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 very old, ugly, terrible person, my brother, John McLoughlin.
So, first of all, before I go into my full remarks, I have to say I put my piece of paper here, and somebody switched out with this one that I feel compelled to read. I don't know who wrote this, although I could guess. I hate you all, and you're stupid. And your butts. So, I don't know who wrote that, but it's a... All right. I'm going to try to be brief, but I have a lot of people to talk about. So first of all, I have some great friends. People say they're the best friends. Just amazing friends. Fantastic friends. And believe me, I know good friends when I see them. Unfortunately, none of them could make it tonight. So, I'm going to start by saying how grateful I am that all of you were able to make it. And that is not very. You are all just terrible human beings. Really, really horrible. Especially the people that spoke up here tonight. I mean, way to phone it in, guys. Good job. For some of you guys, it's been a while since I've seen or spoken to you, and I'm reminded why. I don't really know what's more insulting, the stupid jokes or the fact that this was the best group of people we could pull together. You weren't my first choices. You weren't my second choices, but you were available and desperate for attention. So as you can see or have seen, I chose the men mostly to make me look good. And I chose the women mostly because I couldn't tell them apart from the men. But as I look out here tonight, I look at all of you now, and it's hard to say which is uglier, the outside or the inside. And I'm really sorry if you guys feel like I'm getting smart with you, but really, how would you know? So, in all seriousness, I do want to let you guys know how I feel about you, but there are children present. So speaking of which, Jack, you know what I like about your speech?
What?
Nothing. No, I'm just kidding. You actually did a great job. They should have put you last because everybody else sucked after you. And you made everybody else look worse. You made them look terrible. You made them look, let's see, old and weak and stooped and slow and wrinkled and aged and tired and lame and broken down and decrepit and foolish and stupid and struggling and horrible and misshapen and grotesque and boorish and dim-witted and lazy and asinine and obnoxious and dull and ignorant and gutless and revolting and foul-smelling and oafish and senseless and... But you were pretty good. Of course, you're grounded. Forever. No, I'm just kidding. I don't even know if they ground kids at military school. So, my dad spoke. He was the really boring one. And I actually didn't invite him to speak at first because I assumed he wouldn't want to, because he wouldn't want to get up here and make fun of me in public. Mostly because I thought, he was nicer than that. But also because, well, if you look like him, would you want to get up in front of everybody? But Dad, I have to say you're a funny guy. Of course, looks aren't everything. And in your case, they aren't anything. So you mentioned the Beatles a little bit, and I'll tell everybody, I'm a big Beatles fan, my dad's a big Beatles fan. He's got t-shirts and hats and posters and bootlegs and CDs, you name it, he's a collector, he's got a crazy collection. He's got almost every album on vinyl. I think he needs help. And right now he's thinking, I've got help on vinyl. But one of the things, since he is a big Beatles fan, one thing you might be surprised to learn is he's not really interested in the Beatles, Beatles reunion. He told me just a little while ago that if they got together, they'd only be half the band they used to be. But one thing you might not know about my dad is that he's pretty good at impressions. He can do Ernie and Kermit the Frog. He's really good at animal impressions. In fact, he and my son do one together that's pretty awesome. They do a donkey. Jack plays the Jack part. I actually wrote that one. So I'm 3 years older than my brother Brian, who was up here a little while ago. And I want you guys to know that I understand that just being the older brother doesn't make me smarter or funnier or more handsome or just generally better. I am all of those things, but it's not because I'm the older brother. And Brian, before you get upset, let me be very clear here. I did not just imply that you were stupid and ugly. I implied that you are stupid and ugly. You look like something I draw with my left hand. You look like a before picture. And when Brian was little, we had a nickname for him. You already heard Loserface McGee. But we had another one before that called Whinin' Brian. Because he was very sensitive as a child and whiny.
Was not.
Yeah, but as he got older and he grew up, it became apparent that his whininess wasn't just something superficial. It was something more substantial there. It wasn't just that he was a wimp, although he was, but it wasn't just that. And now that we're adults and I'm 40, I realize that Whinin' Brian was created out of fear. Fear of what? Success. Well, Brian, I can safely tell you tonight you don't have anything to worry about. So hey, you know what's great for when you want to seem funny and clever, but you really don't want to put much effort into it? Mad Libs. You know, Liz, it was really special for me that I got to write most of your speech. You know, we went to high school together, and you know, in high school, I knew Liz as a wonderful person and a good friend. What happened to you? Now, I think somebody already mentioned, you know, Liz is a runner. She takes that pretty seriously, right? You do a lot of marathons and trail running and, you know, all kinds of stuff. So in honor of that, I tried to come up with a really good, long, running joke for you. But then I realized that you're pretty much the longest running joke. I'm sorry, you were a lot nicer to me. Ryan and I were friends and roommates in college. Back then, he wasn't exactly what you'd call a well-mannered individual. He didn't really practice good hygiene, or use soap, or brush his teeth. He wasn't very likable. And as you've heard several times tonight, he once drank an entire 8-ounce glass of vinegar on a bet. He thinks he won that bet. You know, it made him sick to his stomach, and he really did smell like vinegar for a couple days. It was pretty gross. But that's just the kind of guy he is. A guy who, when faced with a challenge, caves into his uncontrollable, self-destructive gambling tendencies. You know, when we were seniors, we camped out overnight for Star Wars tickets. And there's a couple other people here that were camping out with us for Star Wars tickets. Do you remember that, Ryan? Yeah. Some point in the middle of the night, people got hungry, we decided to make a food run, we went to Sheetz. And on the way back, I was driving the car, we had the windows down, we pull into the parking lot of the movie theater, we had the windows down, the Star Wars theme is blasting at full volume. You remember this? Ryan's in the back seat wearing a full Darth Vader helmet. You know, just do-do-do-do-do. And, you know, it's one of my favorite memories.